Let's look at the funding sources very quickly. Now, in the time that we have, I don't want to spend a great deal of time on these options and the objections that are usually raised, but I just want to give you a flavor of how none of these are competition to long-term care insurance when you understand the business of long-term care. First up is Medicare. Medicare is health insurance. It's not custodial care insurance. You all know that. But for those people who have a book of business, you might be a little reluctant to talk to your clients because maybe you've heard that some clients have, where people have said, well, I think Medicare will pay. And if you take the position that Medicare won't pay and they say, well, it paid for my father, it's a bit embarrassing. A story about an agent at another company had a call from a guy known for 12 years, went over. He said, what's going on? Why are you interested in the product? And the guy says, my wife's uncle has been sick for years. We took care of him. He got so sick we couldn't do it any longer. Had to put him in a nursing home. This Medicaid's killing us. We don't want it to happen to us. The guy thinks he's got a sale. So he shows him the policy. And the policy says, we'll pay for home care. He says, I don't need home care. He says, why? But that's the most important part of the policy right here. He says, listen, this guy had Medicare pay for his care at home. So, of course, the guy, this agent, not really understanding the business, said, well, it's not supposed to. He says, well, all I know is that it did. He says, well, the agent said, it could have only have paid for skilled rehab. He says, I don't know what that is. All I know is that the V&A came in, watch this, 4 to 5 times a week, 3 to 5 hours a day, and got him up, bathed him, dressed him, fed him, and took care of the house. Now, how many of the audience have ever had that as an objection? You're shaking your heads. Career agents, if there's any possibility that you can't overcome this debilitating objection, you won't bring it up. Here's what you need to know, and this is what we teach you, that even though Medicare was never supposed to pay for care, it routinely paid for care, custodial care, prior to 1998 because home health care agencies were paid in a fee-for-service from Medicare. Fee-for-service means you don't get better because if you do, you can't bill Medicare. So they figured out a way, everyone, how to take a person who needed custodial care and made him look like he needed what? Skilled rehab. Now, even though technically Medicare was never supposed to pay, it did. And the reason I'm spending a minute on this is that these are the objections that you're going to get. And if you don't understand how these systems are financed, it could put you in an embarrassing situation. And I'm now speaking to career professionals here, your career agents. If there's any possibility that your client knows more than you do, if there's any possibility you can't overcome these objections quickly and with confidence, that's correct. You're not going to bring the subject up. So what we're going to talk about later on in the CLTC program, the Certified Long-Term Care Program, is to give you the confidence and competence to overcome objections. One of them is Medicare. The answer is no, it won't. If the client says it paid for my father, the next question we teach you is when? It was 1994. And then you take your information out of your bag and you use it to overcome the objection. Medicare will never pay for custodial care. Out. Next. Medicaid. Debilitating objection. Now most, forget you, everyone in the industry was taught to badmouth Medicaid. Medicaid's welfare. You don't want to be on Medicaid, you won't have choice. You won't get into a good nursing home. Do you really want to be a ward of the state? What we teach you, what I'm going to mention to you right now, is that you never badmouth the competition. You use it to make a sale. Because the reality, if you read this chart right here, is that Medicaid, welfare, will pay for custodial care, but almost exclusively in the one place you don't want it, and are not necessarily likely to be. The client says, well, I understand what you're saying, but my lawyer told me Medicaid will pay for my care. You were taught to say you won't get into a good nursing home. Here's what we're going to teach you. Try something else to emphasize. Did the lawyer say you could get into a good nursing home on Medicaid? And the client says, yeah. Your answer will be, he's absolutely correct. But in my experience, not one of my clients ever told me they wanted to go to a nursing home, and you're not likely to go to a nursing home because even if you wanted to go to a nursing home, your family won't put you in. What's the client doing all this time, the prospect? I don't want to go. You want to close the sale? But please don't confuse that with getting sick and needing care. The chances of you going to a nursing home are remote, but you're likely to get sick, and if you do, it could devastate your family. I need to ask you a question. Have you had an experience? And we go right into this presentation again. What do we teach you? Medicaid's a wonderful program. We teach you how to use it to sell long-term care insurance. And there it is right there. Interesting, huh? When you badmouth something, it makes you look unprofessional, and the lawyer's going to win anyway. Why don't you hoist the attorney on his own petard? Agree, it pays for care in a good nursing home, but you're not going to go. Now what you're doing is you're agreeing with the the client, but you're going to take it away from him. But don't confuse that with getting sick and needing care. Huh? Huh means tell me more means you have a chance at a sale. For your career professionals in the audience, I'll tell you this, which you already know. If there's a possibility that you cannot control the interview, your client might know more than you get these objections you can't handle, the subject won't be brought up. And what we teach you, we give you the confidence and competence to discuss this with no possibility of being embarrassed. Medicaid's out next, VA. VA's health insurance. Pays almost nothing for custodial care. Let me leave you with this, because I haven't got a lot of time here. If the VA was going to pay, why did the federal government enter into a contract with who? That's right, MetLife and John Hancock to sell long-term care insurance to who? The federal family, including active and retired military. Briefly, the VA is not going to pay for care. And that leaves me with self-funding. It's a very important part. I'll show you how to overcome objection from lawyers, CPAs, accountants, even those of you in the room who say, I don't really need this. My client's got enough money. Watch. Selling long-term care insurance to wealthy families, which I define as people who can easily pay for nursing home for years and not have any impact on them. Watch. How many of you in the audience have sold long-term care insurance to wealthy people? Most of you, right? Watch what they shared in common. Right or wrong? They understand the risk now, probably from prior experience. And by the way, you're going to agree, because 90 to 95% of all policies sold in this country, respectfully, weren't sold. The client had a prior experience. That was an HIAA study that concluded that 94% of people bought the policy because they had a prior experience. Imagine what you can do with people who don't, if you understand the business. So they bought it because they had a prior experience. But let me show you why they actually bought it. That's called religion. They never even thought about this happening until it did. And now they understand it might happen to them. And here's a critical point. They may still think the risk is low, but they now know the cost, both financially and emotionally, to the family is way too high. When people understand risk and they understand consequences, buying any sort of insurance is a reasonable and necessary expense. Why didn't your client buy long-term care insurance? Either he didn't understand the risk, or more importantly, he understood the risk. But the focus is on the event happening to him, not the impact it would have on his family. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's what this 2 hours has been about. If you focus on an event happening to an individual, what does he say? The worst will happen to someone else. And by the way, I think you're here to try and sell me insurance. If a person believes the worst will happen to someone else, what's the risk of his needing care? Too low. And thus, long-term care insurance is seen as an unreasonable expense. He'll self-insure it. Don't tell me you haven't told the client that. Don't tell me they haven't been told. You can self-insure it. You know what self-insure means? That you fundamentally don't believe the risk will happen to you. Think what I just said. You don't believe the event will happen to you, you self-insure it. Why do people buy it? Because it happened to someone in their family, and they found out that it might happen to them, because no one in their family thought they'd live a long life, no one thought they need care, and both happened. See that? Both happened. And then they found out, not that it just happened, because there was no plan, it made it worse. The emotional stress, and then finding out that nothing would pay for the care except assets allocated for something else. There, you see this?